All right, let's talk about it. You've seen it everywhere, right? The Simpsons and their so-called prophecies for 2026. But what if I told you it's not about magic? What if it's a method, a specific way the show's writers see where we're all headed? And once you get it, well, the future starts to look a whole lot less mysterious. So, this is the big question, isn't it? The one that's all over social media. What did The Simpsons really have in store for 2026? Are we talking about some huge crisis? A crazy new tech revolution? Or just one single, massive event? For decades, this cartoon family has had this uncanny knack for getting things right. And now, everyone's wondering, what's next? And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it. This is the key that unlocks the whole mystery. You see, the genius of The Simpsons isn't about predicting one-off random events. It's about spotting the repeating patterns and how we all behave, and how our society works. The very patterns that eventually lead to those big events. That's it, exactly. This isn't just a coincidence. We're not talking about the writers throwing a million ideas at a wall and just hoping a few of them stick. No way. There is a method here, a real strategy. And once you see it, these so-called prophecies, well, they stop looking like magic and start looking like some seriously sharp commentary on our world. And this method actually has a name, coming from some Turkish analysis of the show, yon okmasi. It literally translates to reading the direction. Now, think about that for a second. The writers aren't claiming to be psychics with a crystal ball. They're just really, really good at looking at our systems, our tech, our politics, our culture, and seeing which way the wind is blowing. They're not predicting the final destination. They're just experts at reading the road signs along the way. Okay, so how do we know this theory holds up? Well, let's put it to the test. Let's go back in time and look at some of the show's most famous predictions. We're going to see how this whole reading the direction thing was at play the entire time. And we have to start with the big one, right? The one that made everyone stop and go, wait a minute. Of course, I'm talking about Donald Trump's presidency from that episode way back in the year 2000. And here's what you have to remember. When that episode first aired, it was a joke, a complete, obvious joke. No one, and I mean no one, took it seriously. A celebrity real estate guy becoming president, it was supposed to be the most ridiculous, hilarious example of how far things could fall. But see, here's the actual pattern they were spotting. The writers weren't predicting that one specific guy would become president. They were reading the direction of a system that was getting more and more unstable. And what happens in times of instability? People tend to look for unconventional, larger-than-life leaders. It's a pattern we've seen happen again and again, not just in the US, but all over the world. Okay, so that's politics. What about technology? Let's look at another classic example, this time about tech and our very personal relationship with it. So in a bunch of different episodes, The Simpsons showed this world where, people are being tracked through devices on their wrists, there are cameras everywhere, and all their data is being collected. But here's the brilliant part, the part they totally nailed. Nobody was being forced. It was all voluntary. People just accepted it because it made their lives more convenient. And that is the pattern right there, control through comfort. The writers saw that the future of control wasn't going to be some government agent kicking down your door. Nope. It would be us, willingly inviting it into our homes. Our smartwatches, our facial recognition on our phones. We give up our data because it just makes life a tiny bit easier. That was the real prediction. Okay, you with me? We get the method now, right? It's all about reading the direction of systems and spotting those big underlying patterns. So now let's take everything we've learned and apply it to the future. What exactly is the show pointing towards for 2026? All right, first, we have to look at a pattern the show points out all the time, how language changes, the words we use. Just look at this. Harsh words get softened to make things sound better. A crisis? Nah, that's just a system update. A ban? Nope, that's a regulation. And control gets a rebrand as security. You gotta keep this in mind, because it's a huge clue for what's coming. So this table kind of lays it all out. Let's start with the economy. The pattern doesn't suggest a big, sudden crash like 2008. Instead, it points to this feeling of restricted access. You know, that weird situation where you feel like, I have money, but I can't actually buy the thing I want. Then there's technology. Forget some big, flashy revolution. The pattern suggests a much quieter, sneakier integration of systems. More verification, more logins, things that kind of lock you in without you even noticing. And finally, society. The show isn't pointing to one huge dramatic event. It's more about a slow burn, an increase in those little everyday frustrations, and a general feeling that everyone's patience is running really, really thin. And this quote, which comes from fans analyzing all this stuff, just nails the feeling perfectly. Everything exists, but nothing works properly. It's not about total collapse. It's about this state of chronic dysfunction. Yeah, the service is still there, but it's buggy. The product exists, but the shipping is a mess. Things just don't run the way they're supposed to. And if you take away just one central idea about tech for 2026, it should be this. It's all about integration. We're talking about the accelerating push to combine your identity, your money, and your physical access into one single connected digital system. So how does that happen? How do they get everyone on board? Well, this quote from social media just hits the nail on the head. It's mandatory without calling it mandatory. No one's going to put out a press release saying, you must do this. Instead, choosing not to be part of the new system just becomes incredibly inconvenient, then really difficult, and then pretty soon almost impossible. And here's what that actually looks like in real life, this pattern of system lock-in. It's not a person saying no, it's the system saying no. A service you use just stops working for you. A digital key for a door just won't open. You try to buy something and the transaction is just incomplete. See? No ban is ever announced, but your access is still denied. The computer says no. So let's bring it all home. We've looked at the method, we've looked at the patterns from the past, and we've applied them to the future. So what's the grand conclusion? What does this all really mean for 2026? First things first, let's be super clear on what 2026 is not, according to this way of thinking. The patterns are not pointing to some massive, single disaster. There's no asteroid coming, no sudden overnight collapse. But on the flip side, it's not some year of amazing salvation either. It's something much more subtle. Probably the best way to think about 2026 is as the in-between year. It's a year where the rules just quietly change. It's all about these small, almost unnoticeable shifts in your daily life. Little changes in how you pay for things, how you verify your identity, how you access services. Each one by itself seems like no big deal. But when you add them all up, they amount to a huge change in direction. It's the kind of year where the entire game changes, but nobody ever blows a whistle to announce it. And that's the absolute crucial point here. All these little changes, they're going to build on each other. So much so that by the time we get to December 2026, we'll probably look back to the beginning of the year, and the difference between the old way and the new way is going to be incredibly obvious. Which brings us to the one final lingering question. When we're all standing at the end of 2026, looking back on this in-between year and all its quiet little shifts, are we all going to find ourselves saying the same thing people have said for decades? You know what? The Simpsons already showed us this was coming.